Hello, my name is Daniel Dvorak. I chose Sorry as the board game to modify for assignment 2. My updated modified rule version is called Sorry Competitive Edition. The things that I made different about it is that the game now has a system for players to have hands dealt to them at the beginning of the game. So the setup is very similar to the original Sorry, except instead of just the draw pile, each player is dealt 3 cards, and that's their starting hand. You also have a new scoring system in place, and here is what comes in the rule set. These are just 2 sample score sheets that you will use. There's particular actions, and then they all have a different point value, or maybe they deduct points as well. And the main point of the game now, the goal, objective if you will, is not just to get all of your pawns home, which was the traditional way to play, was to get all 3 of your pawns home. That still ends the game, but it does not necessarily mean you will win the game, because what you do during the game, the actions that you take, are going to determine how many points you get and therefore how you win. I also added one little tiny new thing, just as a little bit of competitive fun. In Uno, when you have 1 card left, you're meant to say Uno, or you'll have to draw cards. Similarly in this, if you have 1 pawn out and you do what's called a bump, where you land on that space and bump that player back to start, if you don't say the word sorry, like the title of the game, then you're going to lose points for that move. So just something to keep people keeping tabs on other people and being aggressive and stingy with points. So I'll go through the new scoring rules that are with the game. So for being the first player to get a pawn home, you'll get 50 points. That's the most you can get in the game, and that's something to encourage players to maybe race their first time around the board just to get things kicked off. Any subsequent pawn that you get home through traditional means will get you 30 points. So it's still big points, but it's not as much as the first time. You will get points anytime you use the Sorry card. And in Sorry, what this does is it moves one of your pawns from start to another enemy pawn that's on the board. So you might use this and take yours from start and bump this player back to start. Anytime you use that, you get 20 points. That's a big one as well. The double play, that's my favorite card, or favorite action, is when you have 2 pawns in the safety zone like this, and then you play a 7, which has the unique property of being able to split 7 spaces between 2 pawns, and you'll use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you got 2 pawns home in the same turn, and that's a double play. That'll get you 20 points. Anytime you do bump a player like this, that's an action that you can get 10 points for. If you happen to do that 5 times throughout the course of the game, you'll get a bonus 5 points. Performing a slide at any point in the game would be when you land on the triangle and then you slide forward. That gets you 10 points, and you also get a bonus for that if you've done that 10 times throughout the course of the game. Then the things that help or take points away are when you do not say sorry out loud when you bump an enemy pawn. That'll make you lose 10 points. When the game ends, so maybe I got all 3 of my pawns home, if any players have a pawn out on the white track, then that's an unsafe end, and they lose 5 points per pawn that's out on the white. And then the last thing that is part of the scoring sheet is a no turn, and that's when you have to forfeit your turn. So you might have a pawn you're trying to get home, but you can't draw a card to get it there. In that case, you forfeit your turn and you'll lose 5 points. Maybe you're in start and you can't draw a 1, a 2, or a sorry to get out of start. Then you will also lose 5 points. There's another way you forfeit your turn is if maybe you draw a 3, or the only card you can lay down is a 3. So you would have to land on your own pawn. That's not allowed. It's an illegal move. So you forfeit your turn there. You'd also lose points. So the coupling of having a hand to look at, as well as actions to make to gain points, really amps up the strategy involved with the game. It's no longer about just playing what the game gives you. You have choices and then actions to take, maybe against other players or just to help yourself the most to gain as many points as you possibly can. I'm going for the aesthetic of expression in the MDA framework, and that's described as expressing the way that you play. I think that this kind of helps there be an archetype for different players, in that you could be the aggressive, you could be the quick speed player, you could be a very defensive player, and you get to choose, if you want to be evil and continuously bump people and not let them get ahead and gain as many points as you can that way. Or you can be the one who just runs away and doesn't want to deal with the conflict. And that's an expression of how that player is reacting to the new dynamics put forth through the new scoring system and the new hand system. And Marc LeBlanc, he said, using the game as a vehicle for expressing yourself. I think this definitely gives the game a twist that helps you do that. And you might need to use your moves to get home as quickly as possible. You might want to do it so no one can do a lot of turns. However you want to play, that's the way it's fun for you. That's how you can play now with this version of Sorry Competitive Edition. I hope you like it. Thank you so much.